Well, it might sound like a bit of an oxymoron using conflict to get ahead and get an advantage, but it's 100% true. I'm not actually saying that we're trying to create conflict, but there are ways in which you can use conflict to your advantage. So let's jump in right now and make sure that you know exactly how you can get ahead and get advantage when conflict occurs. So let's jump in straight away right now. Let's flag the elephant in the room. Yep, there's wars going on. There's a whole lot of stuff that always happens with conflict, whether it's political dramas, different countries, sometimes it's internal wars. And right now, there is a bit of a drama going on with Russia invading the Ukraine, and obviously potential for other scenarios around with China, Taiwan, etc. Now, we're not going to get into the political side of things or anything at all, but suffice to say, when we start to have a look at conflict in a war sense, there's a great avenue to understand that one of the best ways to get ahead right now and leverage off conflict is to actually maintain your wealth creation strategies over time. You see, what it does is that when big conflict happens on a like a domestic or global scale, it creates a lot of uncertainty in marketplaces. So it makes a lot of people decide to try and short the markets. Other people try and jump around and get panic and they try and sell stocks. And other people are in a scenario where they're not sure, do I go and buy more gold and commodities and property, or how do I? And here's the thing. What we know, and I won't bring it up on the screen, but what we actually know is that through every single war, whether you talk about something like a Vietnam, Korean War, or whether you go back to something like a World War I, etc., every time there is a war, things such as your staple wealth creation avenues continue to actually rise. So what it actually shows is that you should be looking at your long-term wealth creation strategies. You should be looking at your best performing options around wealth creation strategies. And I'm choosing my words carefully because I don't, this isn't to sort of say, hey, what you should be doing is buying gold or go out and buy, particular stocks, for instance. But looking at large cap stocks, if you look at all the wars, they've actually gone up 11.5% in total over time. So like during those periods of war. So when you start to think about that, you can get some fantastic wealth creation avenues moving forward if you know your market and if you do your right DD and you stick to your long-term wealth strategy. And see, what most people do when you have conflict is they jump around and they quickly randomly try and panic buy, and they try and sell things, and they try and hoard their cash. Or they try and get rid of stocks, and they try, or crypto's another one. Crypto's been up and down all over the place. It's taken an absolute beating. It's because 99% of people that are investing in it, in and around it, have no idea. Even though they've jumped on the gravy train and made some dollars in the last 6 months or 12 months, they think they're experts. The fact of the matter is that it's that volatility from the people that don't actually know and that aren't actually experts that create the up and down convoluted avenues. The people that actually get ahead with conflict and the people that actually get an advantage during conflict are those that actually remain patient. They stick to their long-term strategy because we know that that is the best way to get ahead. And so when we start to think about one part of conflict being, well, how do we create more wealth? How do we actually create ourselves to be in the best financial position for myself, my patients, my clients, my team, my family, friends, etc. And it is to make sure that we keep calm, we stay patient, and we follow our long-term financial plan and wealth creation plan, etc. So that's one of the things that we need to think about in how to make conflict to our advantage. Now, we can also flip this completely around and not talk about war, but let's talk about something that might be conflicting avenues. Maybe there's team members, for instance, that got a bit of a conflict, or maybe there's some dramas in your local community that you need to be able to work your business through. Maybe there's been some challenges and conflicts happen because of technology or problems with a client or two, etc. And so in that situation, it's the same premises we're talking about before, right? You don't want to make huge sweeping changes. You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Yes, you may very well need to make some changes. You might need to make something that's more efficient or more effective. Maybe we need to change around a particular policy or a system. Maybe we need to put some type of risk matrix in place. All of a sudden we've got this thing called COVID and we're going to have check-ins and masks, right? We've been through those avenues where different problems and different conflicts have arisen, and we've needed to have a little bit more focus on change management, right? So absolutely, we do need to be willing and able to be better at change management, and also be in a situation where we're more malleable to be able to make those changes. We don't need to pivot the majority of the time. Like, we don't need to, if you think about the war situation, you don't need to go and sell all your stocks and pivot and panic and hoard your cash. Same as when you've got a small conflict in your business with team or with a client. You don't need to have some big sweeping change. You don't have to, panic, have your anxiety levels go up and all of a sudden, make massive changes, all to just turn around and realize that, a slight little bit of a change, better management of that change, a slight bit of malleability is always going to be better than having a huge pivot. So let's stop and have a think about it, because most people, flip to one end, or they dive in and have to give someone a formal warning, or we quickly are frantically making all these phone calls and changing this and doing that and acting abruptly and quickly. But here's the thing, conflict is always around, whether it's happening in your team, in someone else's business, in a local area, or a war on the other side of the world. It's always going to be there. But the fact is when we stay patient, when we actually look at the conflict for what it is, we stay controlled, we control the narrative as best we can, and we be more malleable to slight and small changes, that is by far the best way to always have an advantageous mindset that will always put you at a greater advantage when the conflict moves on to the next stage or is resolved. So right now what I'm saying is we have to make sure that we stay patient. We have to make sure that we think about our long-term strategy, be better at change management if needed, but let's not have a big pivot, because rarely do you ever need to pivot in a conflict situation that's going to provide the best result. Most people do. They have big sweeping changes. They sell this, they do that, and that's not the best performance indicator across any metric that you look at during a conflict. So be patient, take a breath, stick to your long-term strategies, and you'll always be able to use all forms of conflict to your advantage, whether you're talking about business growth, community impact, finances, wealth, etc. I'll talk to you again very soon. Hey guys, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Profitable Practice Podcast. I would love nothing more than for you to be able to leave a review. I get so much joy out of listening and reading the amazing things that you guys say about this. So please subscribe to our channel, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Let's get some more fantastic information out there so all of us can grow the industry together. Cheers for now.